I was sitting on the train heading up the coast to Maine when I saw what my daughter-in-law had posted on Facebook. The annoying old lady is finally gone. 30 comments piled on, all laughing at my expense. My son didn't defend me. I didn't call. I didn't cry. I didn't explain myself. I just took screenshots, froze. The cards, canceled. The services, switched the bills to their names, and waited exactly 9 days. When I got back, I didn't leave an apology on the table. I left a lease agreement. I was on the train to the Maine coast when I found out I was officially a burden. The pine trees and rocky shoreline blurred past my window, peaceful and quiet, nothing like the glowing screen in my lap. I'd decided to take a 10-day trip because things at home had gotten tense. My daughter-in-law Tessa kept saying she and my son Jordan needed space. We all lived in my big old 2-family house, me downstairs, them upstairs, so I figured a little getaway would ease the pressure. Give them the breathing room they kept asking for. When my phone buzzed, I expected a sweet safe travels text from Jordan. Instead, it was Tessa's Facebook post. There was a picture of my suitcase sitting in the hallway. The caption hit me like a slap. The old burden is finally out of here. The whole house is ours now, no more constant checking up on us. Her friends had already jumped in. One wrote, "About time you two could breathe again." Another cracked jokes about my old lady curtains visible in the photo. 30 comments, all of them roasting me. And the worst part, Jordan, my own son, had hit the like button. Strangely, I didn't feel tears coming. I wasn't sad. I felt sharp, clear-headed in a way I hadn't in years. I screenshot every single comment, her caption, and his little thumbs up. Saved them all in a secure folder. For years, I'd carried them financially and every other way. They lived rent-free. I covered the utilities, kept the fridge stocked. Tessa worked part-time at an office, Jordan at a small company. They were always saving for their own place. But Amazon boxes showed up at my door daily. I leaned back in my seat as the train rattled along. If they saw me as a burden, I'd remove that burden completely. I opened my banking app. While the wheels clicked over the tracks, I started planning. No fights, no angry texts. Just exactly what they'd celebrated: online total independence. The next 9 days were going to be very educational. My thumb hovered over the first automatic payment. On the second day, I sat on the porch of my little rental cottage with a coffee, breathing in that crisp ocean air. My mind felt clearer than it had in years. No tears, no second guessing. I opened my laptop. First thing, the joint household account. 2 years ago, I'd added Tessa as an authorized user on a card so she could handle groceries for all of us. In reality, she bought fancy organic stuff for her and Jordan, while I paid for my own food separately. I clicked freeze card. A simple confirmation popped up, and just like that, her spending tap was shut off. Next, the grocery delivery app. Tessa hated carrying cases of water. She ordered weekly on my account linked to my credit card. I changed the password, removed my payment info, and logged every device out. If they wanted water now, they'd haul it themselves and pay for it. I didn't feel spiteful, just practical. They wanted independence. This was the normal price tag. I thought about the house. It was mine. My late husband and I had worked hard for it. Jordan and Tessa lived upstairs without ever paying a dime in rent or bills. They called it saving for the future. I logged into the utility portal. We had separate meters, but everything had always run through my account. I filled out the form to switch the upstairs meter to Jordan's name starting next month. The confirmation email came almost instantly. It was amazing how much control you could take back with a few clicks. No slam doors, no screaming matches, just quiet administrative changes to match the reality Tessa had bragged about online. That afternoon, I took a long walk on the beach. My phone stayed quiet. They still hadn't noticed, probably still celebrating my absence, inviting friends over to enjoy the empty house. But the fridge would be empty soon, and the next grocery order was scheduled for tomorrow. I smiled a little and let the sea breeze hit my face. The burden was gone. Day 3 started sunny and calm. I slept in something I rarely did at home because Tessa was always knocking early, wanting to borrow something or drop off packages. Today, household stuff was on my list. Every Thursday, Mrs. Hayes, a reliable cleaning lady I'd had for 5 years, came by. She cleaned my downstairs and their upstairs too. I paid her cash out of my own pocket. Tessa took it for granted and often left her dirty dishes everywhere. I called Mrs. Hayes. "Good morning," I said calmly. "For the next few weeks and going forward, we're changing things up. Please only clean my downstairs unit from now on. The upstairs is no longer part of your job. You'll still get your full pay from me this week, but don't go up there anymore." She agreed without questions. Then I handled the laundry. Jordan used to bring his work shirts downstairs, and I'd send them off with mine to the dry cleaner. The pickup was Fridays. I canceled the service for his items. If he needed a pressed shirt for the office on Monday, he could figure out the iron himself. It wasn't punishment. It was simply the end of my free services. I was his mother, not his maid. And Tessa was a grown woman who could run her own home. While I took care of all this, my phone stayed mostly silent. Around noon, I got an automatic alert someone had tried to log into the grocery app. Password denied. 10 minutes later, another try. Then a text from Tessa. "Hey, the app is acting weird. Did you change the password? We need stuff for the weekend." I read it, closed the app, and set the phone down. I didn't reply. She'd publicly declared I was a burden she no longer had to deal with. Well, now she could shop for herself. The sand under my feet felt good. On day 4, I focused on the physical boundaries of the property. The house was mine, including the big 2-car garage. My little sedan stayed on the street. I'd let them use the garage. Jordan also regularly took my reliable old Subaru wagon because his car was always in the shop. He didn't ask anymore. He just grabbed the keys from the hook in the shared hallway. I called Mr. Riley, my retired neighbor across the street. We'd known each other 20 years. "Mr. Riley," I said, warmly, "you still looking for safe storage for those antique pieces you're restoring?" He was thrilled. "I'm away right now, but you're welcome to use my garage. Spare keys under the flower pot by the shed. Go ahead and put your stuff right in front of the Subaru and lock both doors when you're done." He was delighted and promised to handle it right away. Late afternoon, my phone buzzed. "Jordan. Mom, the garage is full of Riley's old cabinets and it's locked. I wanted to take the Subaru to the hardware store tomorrow. What's going on?" I typed my first reply since leaving Hi Jordan. "Mr. Riley needed space. Since I'm not there, I loaned him the garage. You'll need to use your own car or rent a van. Hugs from the coast." I sent it and put the phone away. No explanations. No justifications. It was my garage and my car. 5 minutes later, Tessa texted, "Wow, great. Now we have to cram everything into my tiny car. Why didn't you ask us first? Thanks a lot." I screenshot her snarky message and added it to the same folder as her Facebook post. They'd come to see all the resources I'd given them for free as their automatic right. That comfortable illusion was starting to crack. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat on the balcony, and watched the sunset. The evening was beautifully quiet. Day 5 was the weekend. Tessa loved hosting friends. Normally, she used my big back patio and well-kept garden without a second thought. There was an interior door in the hallway that separated the stairwell from my private downstairs. It had always stayed open until I left. I'd quietly locked it and taken the key. Now the only way to the garden was the narrow outside path, and the gate stuck anyway. All the good patio furniture and the fancy gas grill were locked in my sunroom. Around 4, I got another text from Jordan Mom. "Where's the key to the middle door? Tessa has her girls coming over and we wanted to sit outside. We can't get to the grill either." I thought about Tessa's friends, the same ones who'd laughed at her post and called me the old burden. I felt no anger, just crystal clarity. I replied simply, "The key is with me. I don't want anyone in my private space while I'm gone. You have your own small balcony upstairs. Use that. Have fun with your gathering." It wasn't long before the phone rang. Tessa. I let it go to voicemail. I didn't listen. They'd used my garden for months, sat in my chairs, and left the mess for me. Now they could squeeze onto their tiny upstairs balcony. That evening, I checked Tessa's Facebook. No glowing photos of a backyard party with cocktails. Just a blurry shot from their cramped living room. The vibe looked pretty miserable. Someone commented, "Too bad we couldn't use the nice garden." Tessa gave a short, evasive reply. She didn't mention me. I closed the laptop and smiled, satisfied. My home was mine again, even from hundreds of miles away. The boundaries were finally clear. Tomorrow, the reality would sink in even deeper. On day 6, Jordan finally realized the rest of the household services had vanished too. Monday mornings, he needed clean shirts for the work week. He texted early, clearly stressed, and lost Mom, the dry cleaner, never came Friday. And Mrs. Hayes didn't clean our bathroom or kitchen at all. "We're drowning in mess up here. Did you forget to pay her?" His sudden helplessness was almost funny. I sipped my tea and typed back calmly, "No, Jordan. I didn't forget anyone. I simply adjusted the arrangements to fit my own needs. Mrs. Hayes only cleans downstairs now, and the dry cleaner only picks up my things. You're both adults. I'm sure you can figure out how the washing machine works." That clear message left no room for debate. I wasn't carrying their daily life anymore. The era of taking everything for granted was over. That afternoon, Tessa called. She didn't sound arrogant anymore. She sounded whiny and overwhelmed. "Lydia, we're almost out of money for groceries this month. The joint card isn't working and the app won't let me in. What are we supposed to eat?" I took a deep breath. "Tessa," I said in a steady, firm voice, "you both have steady paychecks. Since you don't pay rent, you should have plenty for food. Budget better." Then I hung up. It felt like setting down a heavy backpack I'd been carrying for years. I'd quietly enabled their lack of organization with my money and time, all to keep family peace and not be alone. But their public mockery had shattered that illusion forever. They'd burned the bridge for no reason. That evening, I noticed Tessa had quietly deleted her nasty Facebook post. No trace left of her happy announcement about my departure. But the internet never forgets, and my folder of screenshots was safe. The real lesson was just getting started. Day 7 brought total radio silence. No calls or texts from either of them. I could picture the harsh new reality settling into their upstairs apartment. No full fridge, no cleaning lady, no unlimited use of my car. After long work days, they now had to shop, cook, clean, and tackle the growing mountain of laundry. Exactly the independent life they'd claimed to want. I spent the day in a charming little coastal town, bought fresh lobster, and enjoyed my own freedom. No obligations, no dirty looks from Tessa when I stepped into my own living room. I felt lighter and younger than I had in years. While sitting on an old wooden bench watching the waves, I prepared the most important step. Vacation was ending, and my return needed to make things crystal clear. I checked my email and found confirmation from the utility company the upstairs meters were officially switched. Their first bill would arrive soon. It was going to be hefty. They'd never watched their usage. Lights left on, windows open while the heat ran. Now they'd see the cost on their own statement. I saved the PDF and downloaded a standard lease form. I filled it with fair market rent for a unit that size, not gouging, just realistic. Printed it at a local copy shop and tucked it into my folder. The days of free room and board were over. If they truly wanted to be independent adults, they'd have all the responsibilities that came with it. I almost looked forward to seeing their faces when I got home. My heartbeat stayed steady and strong. On day 8, I packed my suitcase. The time away had done me good, but I was ready to go home. As I folded clothes, I thought about the word family. To me, it meant support and respect, not exploitation dressed up as blood ties. I'd helped Jordan out of love, hoping he'd stand on his own one day. Instead, my help had made him comfortable and Tessa entitled. My quiet withdrawal was the only language they truly understood. Around noon, my neighbor Mrs. Caldwell called. She was the street's eyes and ears. "Lydia," she whispered dramatically, "things look rough over there." Jordan was running to the bus stop in the pouring rain. Yesterday, no car. And Tessa was complaining loudly at the bakery this morning about having to clean half the night. They both looked exhausted and cranky. "What's going on?" I smiled into the phone. "Oh, they're just learning how to run their own household the hard way." Mrs. Caldwell chuckled. She got it immediately. After we hung up, I looked again at the printed lease. The numbers were clear and fair. I'd also prepared a detailed list of the new monthly utilities they'd cover. If they wanted to stay upstairs, they'd do what every other adult does, pay their bills on time. I boarded the train home. The scenery rolled by again, but this time I wasn't running away. I was a homeowner reclaiming her territory. Those 9 days had quietly flipped the entire power dynamic. No screaming, no lawyers. No drama, just the steady removal of the foundation under their arrogance. Tomorrow, we'd face each other. I was curious about their reactions, but I wasn't afraid anymore. The keys to my life were back in my own hands. On the 9th day, I unlocked the front door late morning. The house was eerily quiet. Amazon boxes were piled in the hallway, trash overflowing. I set my suitcase in my downstairs apartment and calmly put away my groceries. A minute later, I heard footsteps thundering down the stairs. Jordan and Tessa rushed down. They both looked pale and worn out. Tessa was in a wrinkled sweater. Jordan had dark circles under his eyes. "Mom, you're back?" Jordan said, sounding almost relieved. "We really need to talk." The bank rejected the automatic payment for electricity because the bill's in my name now and the grocery account is frozen. "You have to fix this right away." Tessa stood there with her arms crossed. "And where's the key to the garden door?" That was pretty childish, locking us out. I let them finish. I felt no rage, just cold, calm resolve. I reached into my purse, pulled out an envelope, and laid 4 printed pages on the hallway console. They were the screenshots her Facebook post, every mocking comment, including Jordan's like. I slid them across silently. Jordan's face went white. Tessa stared at her own words. "The old burden is finally gone." I read aloud, calmly. "You wanted the house to yourselves. You didn't want me as a burden anymore. I simply gave you exactly what you asked for." A heavy silence filled the hallway. Tessa's mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. That was just a stupid joke between friends, she finally stammered, ashamed. A joke that opened my eyes just in time, I replied evenly. I've drawn my consequences. I'm not your free housekeeper, your ATM, or your emotional doormat. The days of me funding and organizing your comfortable life are over. We need to talk about the new terms. I looked at them calmly, waiting. Jordan swallowed hard and stared at the floor. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think when I liked it. Please, we can't afford this without your help. Tessa stayed quiet, but her defiant look was gone. She just looked scared. I took out the second envelope and handed over the clean lease agreement and the new utility breakdown. This is a standard lease for the upstairs unit. The rent is fair market rate. Starting the 1st of next month, I expect payment to my account. Electricity and gas are in your names now. You'll need to handle and pay for your own cleaning and groceries. If you can't afford it, you're free to find a smaller place. You have 4 weeks to decide. Jordan scanned the numbers with shaky hands. He knew they couldn't swing that lifestyle on their own. Tessa stared at the papers in disbelief. You'd really put us out on the street, she whispered, voice trembling. No, I said, calmly. I'm offering you housing at realistic terms. I'm simply taking my own life back. The door to my downstairs stays locked from now on. My car and garage are no longer available to you. You wanted independence, now you have it. I turned, opened my apartment door, and closed it gently but firmly behind me, turning the lock. A week later, they didn't sign the lease. They'd finally realized they couldn't afford the big life without my quiet subsidies. They quickly found a modest 2-bedroom apartment on the edge of town and started packing reluctantly. I sat at my big kitchen table, drinking hot coffee and looking out at my beautiful, peaceful garden. No one was demanding anything from me. No one was mocking me on my dime. I'd regained respect by simply stopping the payments for it. The house was mine again, and my new free life had just begun beautifully. Some people don't actually want you to leave. They just want you to keep paying, cleaning, and enduring without a voice. Lydia didn't get angry. She simply stopped buying her peace with her own dignity.